How I discovered something shocking about airport security started with a moment almost every traveler knows. The moment when you're standing in that endless airport security line, watching the clock tick closer to boarding time and thinking, there has to be a better way than this. Yesterday morning, I was at the airport before sunrise, coffee in one hand, boarding pass in the other, staring at a line that looked like it wrapped halfway around the terminal. You know the type of line. People sighing, kids crying, someone arguing about a water bottle they forgot in their backpack, and that one guy digging through his bag like he's searching for buried treasure. I remember thinking, man, if this is how every trip starts, no wonder people hate flying. But here's where the story gets interesting, because this time I wasn't standing in the regular line, I was about to test two programs travelers talk about all the time, but most people still don't fully understand. I'm talking about TSA PreCheck and Global Entry, and trust me, what I discovered while testing them completely changed the way I travel, and might change yours too. So picture this, I walk into the airport expecting the usual chaos, but instead of joining that huge snake of a line, I follow a small sign that says TSA PreCheck. Suddenly the crowd disappears. The line shrinks from what looked like hundreds of people to maybe 15, no joke. I literally looked around like, wait, that's it? And here's where things started feeling almost unreal. Nobody was taking off their shoes, nobody was unpacking laptops, nobody was pulling tiny shampoo bottles out of plastic bags. It felt like airport security had suddenly switched from nightmare mode to easy mode. I stepped up to the scanner, the officer glanced at my boarding pass, and before I even had time to finish my coffee, I was through. I'm not exaggerating when I say the entire process took maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Meanwhile, the regular security line behind me looked like a theme park ride with a 3-hour wait. At that moment, I had one thought. Why doesn't everyone do this? But hold up, because this is where Global Entry enters the picture and things get even crazier. A few weeks earlier, I'd also signed up for Global Entry because I wanted to see what happens when you return to the US from an international trip. If you've ever flown back from another country, you already know the pain. Customs lines that move slower than dial-up internet, tired travelers waiting forever just to answer a couple questions about where they've been. Well, I recently landed after an international flight and decided to test Global Entry. I walk into the customs hall expecting the usual crowd, and again, there it was, that little sign, Global Entry. I follow it, and suddenly I'm standing in front of a row of kiosks that look more like self-checkout machines at a grocery store than government security equipment. I scan my passport, the machine takes my photo, and boom, it prints a receipt telling me I'm cleared. No interview, no long line, no interrogation about my suitcase. The entire process took maybe 30 seconds. I'm serious, 30 seconds. And here's the wild part. While I was walking toward the exit, I glanced over at the regular customs line. Hundreds of people were still waiting. Some looked exhausted, others looked frustrated. One guy even joked, "We might still be here tomorrow." And that's when the light bulb moment hit me. These programs aren't just convenience upgrades, they're like secret fast passes for air travel that most people still don't realize are game changers. But before you jump to conclusions, let me tell you something important. Not everything about these programs is perfect, and there are a few things happening right now in airports that travelers need to understand before signing up. For example, TSA PreCheck lines have been getting longer at some major airports because more travelers are discovering the program. That means sometimes the fast lane isn't quite as fast as it used to be. But even on a busy day, it's still dramatically quicker than regular security. And another surprise? Some travelers told me they were approved for PreCheck but didn't get the PreCheck symbol on their boarding pass every time they flew. Yeah, that shocked me too. Apparently, the system sometimes randomly assigns standard screening even if you're approved, which caught a lot of people off guard. And then there's Global Entry. While it's amazing once you have it, getting approved can take time because you have to complete an interview with customs officers. Some travelers wait weeks or months depending on appointment availability. But here's a little insider tip that frequent travelers swear by. If you're returning from an international trip, many airports allow something called enrollment on arrival, meaning you can complete your Global Entry interview right after landing instead of scheduling one later. Pretty slick, right? Now, here's where things get even interesting, because after testing both programs on multiple trips, I started noticing something about the psychology of airport travel. When people feel rushed, stressed, and trapped in long lines, the entire experience becomes exhausting before the flight even begins. But when you remove that stress, when you walk straight through security and customs like you're strolling through your own living room, the whole vibe of traveling changes. Suddenly, you're relaxed, you grab a coffee, maybe you even enjoy the airport for once. And I started wondering, why don't more travelers talk about this difference? Maybe it's because the benefits sound too simple to believe until you experience them yourself. Or maybe people assume these programs are only for frequent business travelers or elite flyers. But the truth is way more surprising. Millions of regular travelers are now using these programs, and many say they'll never go back without them. Still, I wanted to test one more thing. I decided to ask random travelers in the airport a simple question. If you could skip airport lines every time you fly, would you do it? Every single person said yes, not one hesitation. But when I asked a follow-up question, do you have TSA PreCheck or Global Entry, most people said no. Some had never heard of them, others assumed they were expensive or difficult to get. That disconnect blew my mind. So here's the big takeaway from my little airport experiment. Programs like TSA PreCheck and Global Entry aren't magic passes that solve every travel problem, but they dramatically change the one part of flying everyone hates the most, waiting. And in a world where airports keep getting busier every year, saving even 20 or 30 minutes can make the difference between a stressful trip and a smooth one. But I'm curious about something, and this is where I want to hear from you. Have you ever used TSA PreCheck or Global Entry before? Did it actually save you time, or was your experience totally different? Drop your answer in the comments because I read every single one, and your experience might help other travelers decide if these programs are worth it. And if you've ever been stuck in a crazy airport line, go ahead and share this video with a friend who travels a lot. They'll probably thank you later. Because honestly, after testing these programs myself, I can say one thing with absolute confidence. Once you experience faster airport security and customs, going back to the old way feels almost impossible. And trust me, airports are changing faster than most travelers realize. In fact, what I discovered next about airport security technology might surprise you even more, but that's a story for another video.